So I wanted to just compare really quickly using the inks, the acrylic inks, and the high flow acrylics. Overall, I would say is not a huge difference, but you can really see it in the turquoise colors. So let's just put a side by side. This is the acrylic ink. This is high flow. Now I think I had a little bit of sepia high flow still in my container, so this got a little darker. They're not exactly the same color. The high flow definitely seems to be more dense and more vivid, but I will say the ink did really, really well. In fact, if I'm looking for really intense papers, I think definitely high flow or the ink is the way to go. These had really beautiful effects also on the tea bag paper. I don't know if you can really see the intensity of color, but it's beautiful. For the alcohol inks, they did color the paper. Yes, they did. This is that blue that I used. That's where I sprayed on the alcohol. So there's some interesting things to be experimented with here, for sure. Now that green right there came from another paper that was next to it, but it did make some very interesting marks that would look very, very nice used as collage. I would use them for accents for sure. They definitely have a place, but as far as just doing a bunch of papers, I can't see using them because they don't go very far and they just don't have that intensity of color. Now, I thought this was cute. This was a piece of tea bag paper that I had already used acrylic paint to tint purple, and I just came back in with acrylic ink. I thought that was very cute. I can't wait to see what that looks like when it gets some transparency on the surface. I used the tempera paint sticks on a couple of these just to see what would happen, and then put some tinting over them. So yes, I was happy with the experiment, but I will say if I had to pick a winner, the winner of the day is the high flow acrylics. They definitely had an amazing amount of pop. My favorite acrylic ink really performed well. It is this orange flame, I think is what it's called, flame orange. I use this a lot in a lot of different things, but I love mixing this in with a blue or a green. It just makes some of the most beautiful colors, and it especially performed well on this gorgeous tea bag paper. So I wanted to just show what these look like as far as bleed. This was the alcohol ink. It seems to have no bleed whatsoever, which I'm really surprised about. It adhered to the paper and it stays there. That's interesting. This was my tempera paint stick on the paper experiment. It doesn't show up very much, but it seems to have stayed on the paper as well. No bleed or flaking or any of that. This is the tea bag paper that I used the alcohol ink on. And I was wondering about the transparency. It has wonderful transparency. Look at that. You can really see those papers underneath. You can even see some of the color differentiation on this paper underneath this paper, which is amazing. It's not as much as tissue, but it's still a lot, which is wonderful. Now, this is also the tea bag paper that was pre-stained, and then I put droplets on it. Those turned out really cute. But as you can see with that dark purple color, there's not as much transparency. There still is some, but not as much. So overall, I'm very pleased with these experiments.